Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi!
Hello friends. Another patch has dropped and there is a lot to discuss. I never go over all of the patch notes in these videos, but just highlight the important stuff with some thoughts and analysis. A quick shout out and thank you to my Patreons for their support. To begin, here is a broad overview of what you can expect over the coming month. The biggest talking point is that Commander Farsight is finally coming to the game as a legendary character via this month's legendary release event. That is followed closely by a hugely requested quality of life feature, the unit filter. We get the Calgar Event on December 1st. It has pretty generous rewards that I'll go into later. On the topic of Calgar, the Ultramarine Chapter Master is also the battle pass for this month. There are two new characters this patch, both for the Emperor's Children. Hascule is the Flawless Blade coming via Hero Release Event on December 7th, and Las Viscas, the Lord Exultant, is coming via Epic Battle Pass on January 4th. We also get a new Machine of War, the Daemon Prince of Tzeentch. We have a slew of character balancing and reworks in this patch. The most notable is for Volk, who gets some pretty huge buffs. Thaddeus gets some smaller buffs, and there are some tweaks for other characters we'll get into later. The red Gobbo is back for the Christmas survival this month, but fear not, it simply isn't a copy and paste of last year's event. The only relic that has been added this patch is the Dawnblade for Commander Farsight. Beyond that, there is the usual slew of home screen events, blessed Requisition events, tournament arena, and quests. In terms of notable absences, the only thing I could think of was a campaign event, which is understandable since we just had one for the Death Guard. Anyone who has been following my channel knows how much I love Commander Farsight and how long I've been waiting for him. If you want a 15-second summary, he is a buffer, working as the ranged Ragnar with his active, and his passive provides nearby ranged units with a huge damage bonus. If I've got my act together, I should have a hype video out, as well as a dedicated character showcase alongside these patch notes. I will do a focused legendary release event deep dive later in the week, but for now enjoy this summary slide of the traits and restrictions for his event. The unit filter is finally here, and at the moment it is only usable on the roster homepage. You can search through text by typing the character's name into the box, or by any of the other filter choices as shown. You can apply multiple filters at once, and it's a pretty neat way of sorting and looking at your roster. Hopefully this gets extended to other game modes. I talked during my last patch notes video about the Calgar event, so I won't linger on the topic, but we have a Calgar event starting on December 1st. The key takeaways or reminders here are that it is similar to the Mythic Celebration event in terms of how the shops work and how generous it is. I have linked to a Google Sheet where you can see all of the offers and plan ahead, as well as the amount of Oath currency you can expect to earn both as a free-to-play as well as pay-to-play player. The Calgar Battle Pass will be the first legendary Battle Pass that we have ever been able to buy in the game. On screen, I'm scrolling through the Battle Pass rewards. I suppose the most pertinent info is that for the free-to-play track, you will get 65 shards total, 240 shards total for the premium track, and then 500 shards total for the ultimate track. The price point hasn't changed, so depending on your perspective, that's a better deal than usual. There are two new characters this patch, both for the Emperor's Children, which completes their 5-man faction. I should have a summary showcase for Hascule, but Las Viscas will have to wait until his kit and numbers have been finalized. At time of recording, Snowprint are still working on and tweaking him. If you're here for a 15-second summary, Hascule is a rare hero release event unlocked this month. He is a PvP-focused character with a recurring taunt mechanic that also has some potential and usability in Horde mode, where his passive can annihilate weaker enemies. The Thousand Sons get their Machine of War this patch, and it is in the form of the Daemon Prince of Tzeentch. I've had a bit too much on my plate to immediately do a showcase, but I will get one done eventually. In short, his primary turns him into a deployable Machine of War, like Galatian, but his deployment only lasts for one turn before he returns to the periphery of the battlefield as a Machine of War. His secondary does fire damage to all enemies that have taken psycho damage this turn, a spin on the Forge Fiend's secondary. The big rework this patch is for Volk, which completes the Black Legion rework. If I'm being honest, I think the entire faction has had a pretty big glow up. Volk gets some huge changes to his health stat, up 92%, making him in the top centile of health in the game, as well as a small boost to his armor, up 20%. Those stats are shown here as courtesy of Tywin's math and these radar charts. The blue radar chart is new and red is old. You can see that the armor buff only moves the needle slightly, moving him from the bottom 2% to the bottom 5%. He also gets the heavy weapon trait, which improves his damage output significantly. His active, Frenzied Firing, has essentially been completely reworked. Now the active does 1 hit of heavy damage to an enemy within range 3 and all enemies adjacent to it. The ability gains additional hits against the primary target based on how many free hexes there are around it, with a cap of 10. Against a guild raid boss, for example, that is a huge amount of damage output. The passive is a nice bit of free damage. Kind of like Anshi's passive, it adds a rotating damage type to Volk's attacks each turn. This clip shows both abilities nicely. You can see that the barrel of Volk's gun changes color depending on the damage type being added by his passive. After cycling through a couple of turns, we try the active at max settings against an enemy at Adamantine 1. This also includes the heavy weapon bonus. After cycling through a few turns, we try the active at max settings against Adamantine 1 orcs while Volk has the heavy weapon bonus. It does a huge amount of damage, despite the units getting an armor buff from Gibboscraps. For the sake of argument, I thought we could put the active and passive through the graph test. These graphs have been generated with Talon's help. The color markings here are hopefully self-explanatory. The first graph shows the damage without high ground or heavy weapon against the splash damage targets. This next graph shows the same, but against the primary target, assuming 3 hexes are empty. Again, no high ground or heavy weapon. Just for fun, we've also done a graph where there are 6 free hexes, and you can see the active destroys almost all equally scaled characters. This is before we add in damage buffers like Abaddon or Shadowsun, much less high ground or heavy weapon. I think the active is super strong and really great. I like doing my usability slides for characters that have had bigger reworks. I don't think Volk is amazing in Horde mode, as he is still a single target damage dealer most of the time. I think Volk will be amazing in War, and I'm planning on building him there to work alongside my Death Guard teams. He is super healthy and does a ton of damage, so I've given him a 4.5. For Raid, he can do 10 hits per turn with his normal attack, and therefore he has a lot of potential. I think he will be fast friends with Abaddon in a Chaos-based team if one was to take shape. I've given him a cautious 3 for now, but if that Chaos team forms properly, I can see his score going higher. The next rework is smaller, and it's for Thaddeus. He has had his health stat increased by around 30% and his armor decreased by around 20%. Again, hopefully this radar chart helps with that stat visualization. His passive, Spotter, now gives all units with ranged attacks within 2 hexes bonus damage, but if they have the heavy weapon trait, then that bonus is increased even further. It might let Thaddeus work better alongside ranged characters, and I thought it would be worth flagging who currently has the heavy weapon trait in the game. I think the gap between ranged characters and melee characters is really high, so I still don't think there is a ranged meta team as yet. The final balancing thing is to give Calgar a damage increase as well as giving him the Crushing Strike trait. I think that makes him better and more attractive for newer players. There are a few other things to mention in the balancing section. Units with the Suppressive Fire trait now trigger suppression with all of their ranged attacks, not only normal attacks. This also applies to abilities. The big winners here are Burchard and Toth's actives. Attacks with flame or toxic damage can now add their respective hex effect even if the attack deals no damage, for example being blocked. It's a small thing, but relevant for example when using the Exorcist Machine of War against bosses with a block chance. The Red Gobbo is back this year for a Christmas survival. He's a fun character and Snowprint did a survival with him last year too. There are a lot of similarities with this year's survival. We have the same enemies, namely orcs, and we use Xenos characters like we did last year. However, the map is new and quite forgiving. There's also a cool new mechanic where after you complete a few runs, your character starts at a higher rarity, which speeds up future progress. A nice quality of life feature. Hopefully I'll be able to make another guide to help you progress. The only relic that has been added this patch is the Dawnblade, with the information on it shown here at max settings. For those curious, I have also updated my overall relic availability slide just to see how things are progressing on that front. There is the usual slew of other stuff. We have 2 character quests this patch. Tyrith fights alongside the Adeptus Sororitas, Astra Militarum, and Ultramarines against the Necrons on December 10th. We are also getting a Red Gobbo quest with Orc allies on December 31st against other Orcs. Long live the Revolution. The rewards are boss Galgorts and some random Orc shards. the red Gobbo himself will not be collectible. There are 2 tournament arenas this patch. Both are at legendary difficulty, and the second is Faction Wars. I'm looking forward to seeing people bring their pet factions, and it should hopefully allow for more variety in games. There are 4 different Blessed Requisition banners this patch, each one giving you an opportunity to earn different characters. Remember that if you pull a character from a Blessed Requisition that is already at Blue Star, you get Mythic Shards. I've showcased each banner on screen here, along with the dates that their events run, in case any interest you. There are 4 home screen events this patch. We get a For the Emperor event that starts on December 9th. You gain points for each Chaos and Xenos enemy you defeat with your Imperial units in various game modes. The rewards include Imperial Orbs and Badges and the AdMech Shared Relic. For the Dark Gods also starts on December 9th. It flips the script, and this time the points are earned with Chaos as the protagonists. The rewards include Chaos Orbs and Badges, and the Emperor's Children Shared Relic. The Faction Focus event starts on December 16th. You get bonus experience for each deployed friendly character of the same faction in various game modes. The rewards are Draft Badges, which are always needed. Finally, you have Warp Surge on December 22nd. This gives Chaos characters bonus stats, as well as bonus experience points in Arena based on their rarity. The rewards are random equipment, and if you can get to the end of the track, there is a Book of Fate Shared Relic in there. There are some other things and bug fixes in the notes, and I would encourage you to check out the full patch notes. This was as quick of a summary of the important stuff as I could manage, and the video has gone on for long enough. Thanks as always to my Patreons for their support, and bye for now.